We had a bit of a confirmation yesterday, not of like some nominee for the president to try and fill some kind of cabinet position or somewhere else in the government. This is a confirmation of who he is, who he's always been.
I've also announced a permanent pause on third world migration, including from hellholes like Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and many other countries. I didn't say shit, all you did. Remember I said that to the senators they came in, the Democrats. They wanted to be bipartisan. So they came in and they said, this is totally off the record. Nothing mentioned here. We want to be honest because our country was going to hell. And we had a meeting. And I said, why is it we only take people from shithole countries, right? Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships.
There's your blatant racist president of the United States. I don't think it gets much more clear than that. It's about time we stop worrying about what they call name calling, which is actually direct labeling of who this guy is. Whole countries, he says. You mean that term that was used before? We'll get to that in a second. But the president of the United States ranting about whole countries that are filthy, dirty, and crime-ridden. Why don't we get folks from Sweden, Denmark, and Norway? I wonder what the difference between those countries are and the ones that he continues to talk about here.
Please raise your hand. That's for Minnesota, you know. That's called the Great Big Minnesota Scam with one of the dumbest governors ever in history. I love this Ilhan Omar, whatever the hell her name is, with the little turban. I love her. She comes in, does nothing but bitch. She's always complaining. She comes from a country where, I mean, it's considered about the worst country in the world, right? They have no military, they have no nothing, they have no parliament. They don't know what the hell the word parliament means. They have nothing, they have no police. They police themselves, they kill each other all the time. I love it. She comes to our country and she's always complaining about the Constitution allows me to do this. We ought to get her the hell out. She married her brother in order to get in, right? She married her brother. Can you imagine if Donald Trump married his sister? Beautiful. She's a beautiful person. If I married my sister to get my citizenship, do you think I'd last for about 2 hours, or would it be something less than that? She married her brother to get in. Therefore, she's here illegally. She should get the hell out. Throw her the hell out. She does nothing but complain.
If you're still saying that he won that election based off the power of his populist message and his affordability talk, why is he campaigning? I think he's a little bit worried. So he went back to rally the racist ass troops to then get and start chanting about send her back. Whole countries, he says. Oh, and Somalia with the little swoozy on her head, that little turban. I don't think it gets much more blatantly racist than this. But those countries that he wants people to migrate from to here are countries that have things that this guy doesn't believe in. Universal health care, a better quality of life, decent wages, treating people like humans and citizens, right? Unlike what he's doing here. It's weird. It's almost like it's a fact that he calls other countries, specifically African countries and Middle Eastern countries, whole countries. The ones that he keeps wanting to exploit for their resources, like a true colonizer does. Everyone's noticing it. Here's CNN.
Now, I just want to remind you that when those comments were reported by CNN, by the Washington Post, by other outlets, the White House, Trump denied it. Let me just play that denial.
you see what various senators in the room said about my comments? They were made. No, I'm not a racist. I am the least racist person you have ever interviewed. That I can tell you.
Did you see him? He denied it. He said, I'm the least racist person you'll ever see. These are ridiculous. Fake news, the same old talking points that he always went through to try and convince people of what we all knew. And the folks who supported him were like, well, look, he just said so. Because, you know, a racist that's trying to run for office will step forward and say, hey, you guys, I'm a rabid racist. Vote for me. He says it after he's in office, like he's doing right now. Oh, it wasn't even that. There was other stories about it. Trump denies that he used profane language to describe Haiti and African countries. Here's a couple actual posts from him from 2018, both on the same day in January. It says the language used by me at the DACA meeting was tough, but this was not the language used. What was really tough was the outlandish proposal made, a big setback for DACA. So he didn't use the language of whole countries, he says there. Here's another post that he had. Never said anything derogatory about Haitians other than Haiti is obviously a very poor and troubled country. Never said take them out. Made up by Dems. I have a wonderful relationship with Haitians. Probably should record future meetings. Unfortunately, no trust. Donald Trump, you know, he's a liar. Donald Trump is a racist. And when someone exposes him for his racism, his bigotry, his division, his hatred, you know, all that stuff, they're telling the truth and he's lying. So now that we've got this 127th instance of us seeing how much of a racist he is, that everyone else had seen it before that and pointed it out, and you guys call it Trump derangement syndrome, we're seeing him confirm it now in at the back end of his first year. So do we believe him yet, or does he have Trump derangement syndrome? There's something else that he denied that was also exposed about who he was and what he believes about other people that aren't him.
The first time ever, Kelly sets the record straight with on-the-record confirmation of a number of damning details about Donald Trump from background sources, including from a 2020 Atlantic story reported with unnamed sources by editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg, including the stunning detail that Trump turned to Kelly on Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery in 2017 and asked, I don't get it. What was in it for them? This is Kelly confirming on the record stories of Trump insulting Senator John McCain and former President George H.W. Bush because in Vietnam and in World War II, respectively, the former aviators were shot down. Kelly describes Trump as, quote, a person that thinks those who defend their country in uniform or are shot down or seriously wounded in combat or spend years being tortured as POWs are all, quote, suckers because, quote, there is nothing in it for them. A person that did not want to be seen in the presence of military amputees because, quote, it doesn't look good for me. A person that demonstrated open contempt for a Gold Star family, for all Gold Star families, on TV during the 2016 campaign.
That was the whole report and the story about the suckers and losers line. You know, the one that Joe Biden totally ran into in the middle of that debate where he bombed like crazy. That was supposed to be the punchline.
He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
But the thing is it was true. But oddly, just like with the whole country's line, and Donald Trump has just confirmed that he was lying about that then, that when he claimed that it was fake news and didn't say it. Similarly, then he also addressed this whole controversy about the whole suckers and losers.
They make up stories, disinformation, a story like that. Think of it from a practical standpoint. I'm standing there with generals and military people in a cemetery, and I look at them, I say, these people are suckers and losers. Now, think of it. Unless you're a psycho or a crazy person or a very stupid person, who would say that anyway? But who would say it to military people, with military? Because as President of the United States, I would say if I made that statement, if I have generals here, if I have it, I would imagine that most of them would end up in a major fist fight with the president, okay? And you know what? I would have said it was okay in that one instance. They made up a story. They just, out of thin air, just like a lot of the fake stories are made up by these people, because they're among the most dishonest people in the country, the fake news. They're dishonest people.
He did it multiple times. So I just continue to keep in mind how he just confirmed his whole hatred for anybody, specifically folks from African nations as shithole countries. And he kept denying this whole thing about suckers and losers.
Nobody's treated it better. Nobody's done as much for the military as I have. But he said, I stood over graves of soldiers and I said, these people are suckers and losers. Think dead soldiers from World War I. I said, this was a made-up deal from a magazine that's failing, Financial Disaster, by a guy that is a horrible radical left lunatic named Goldberg. They made up a story that I said this, and they put it out, and it's been going around for 3 years. And it's just like Russia, 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 Ukraine, 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 51 intelligence agents, that phony story, remember? The laptop is from Russia, they said. And they should be prosecuted for what they did. Okay, they should be prosecuted. Let's see what happens.
Since we see the way he denies things like he did there, and also now confirmed something like, the whole country's line, here's a very small jump that people can take. He's also lying about that too. He has demeaned soldiers. He has wondered why folks who gave their life and sacrificed for the country in the military wonders what's in it for them. All that stuff is true. These folks that we're apparently supposed to appeal to, these folks who keep standing behind him as he goes on racist tirades, even right now, as he goes on all this, they're still willing to be there. Those people are in that cult. Those people are just as rabidly racist as he is. Just because the president is super racist doesn't mean there's a significant percentage of the country that's also super racist. So when he appeals to them with his racism, they're going to be with him from now on. They're with him because he's a racist and his policies are based on that racism. Remember, they kept talking about anti-DEI and they start firing all these folks. That's why when people say someone's a racist and they're in a position of power, it's dangerous because they'll wield that power based off of their racism. It's not just name calling. This guy is a racist. And also, he despises, downplays the sacrifices of our armed service members. It seems like a weird breakdown that I had to go through all that. But that's why you call people that are racist racist. It's a warning shot. That's why when you point out fascists, you make sure that people don't vote for the fascists that'll do fascist things.